I am 87 years old, and for 7 years now I have eaten the same breakfast every morning. The same bowl, the same spoon, the same chair, turned toward the same window. I want to tell you about the year I stopped deciding what to eat in the morning because that was the year the rest of my day got quiet enough to live in. There were 11 confessions I had to make before that bowl made any sense. I wrote every one of them on the back of a seed envelope, in pencil, right where I sit now. When I finished, I did not feel ashamed, and I did not feel proud. I felt honest, maybe for the first time in years. Come closer and sit with me a while, the way people used to sit before the television learned to talk. I am not telling you that I gave up on food. I am not telling you that my mouth stopped wanting things, because it did not. And I am not telling you to go eat what I eat, out of some bowl in a kitchen you have never seen. The truth is smaller than that, and heavier. After 80, the body stops forgiving the mornings you spend on choosing. So let me ask you plainly, how much of your morning are you still spending on decisions that never once loved you back? My grandmother used to say that a person is handed only so many yeses in a day, and most of us have spent them before the sun clears the fence. She would say it while she was banking the stove, without looking up. Yes to what to wear. Yes to what to eat. Yes to whether to answer the phone, and whether to be hurt by what was said on it. And then somebody would come up the road at noon needing something real from you, and you would open your hands and find them empty, and you would call that old age. It was not old age. It was arithmetic. Settle the small things while it is still dark, she told me, so the morning finds you already standing. I was 19 when she said that, and did not understand a word of it until I was 80. Ask yourself what your morning has been charging you before the day even begins. So here is the first confession, and it is the one that started all the rest. 80 years old, standing at an open cupboard at 6:30, and I could not choose. Oatmeal or eggs, the gray bowl or the white one, coffee now, coffee after. My hand went out toward the eggs twice and came back both times, and I could not have told you why. I stood there until my feet went cold on the linoleum, and when I finally looked at the clock, 11 minutes were gone. 11 minutes over a bowl. What frightened me was not the time. It was that I had felt that same stuck feeling at the bank the week before, and again on the phone with my son, and I had been telling myself the world was simply moving too fast for me. It was not the world. My grandfather used to say that a man who cannot pick a trail will end up sleeping at the trailhead. So that morning I picked one. Oats, one boiled egg, black coffee, the blue bowl. I have not decided breakfast since. Before I go on, let me set something down beside you. It is called the Native Way. It is a small gathering of the sayings and the plain teachings I was raised on, the ones my grandmother banked into me the way she banked that old stove, and I put them together so they would not go into the ground with me. It is nothing fancy. It is a way of doing things handed to me by people who never wrote anything down, set on paper at last in plain words, for whoever wants to sit with it. The link is in the description below this video, if your heart wants it. And no pressure at all, none whatsoever. If it stays right where it is and you never once look at it, that changes nothing between you and me. I am here either way. This chair is not moving, and I will not bring it up again. Now let me give you the second confession because it is the one I had the hardest time saying out loud. The second confession is that for a long time I believed variety was proof that I was still alive. When I was 79, I kept a list taped to the refrigerator door. 31 breakfasts, one for each day of the month so that I would never repeat myself. I had it in my head that a man who eats the same thing every day is a man who has stopped reaching. My wife had been gone 4 years by then, the house had gone very quiet, and I think that list had less to do with food than with proving something to the empty chair across from me. Do you know what it actually bought me? It bought me standing in a grocery aisle at 8 in the morning with my reading glasses down my nose, hunting a jar of something I would use exactly once. My grandmother used to say that a person always reaching for the new is usually running from the near. I was running. I took the list down, and it took me a solid week to stop feeling like a coward for taking it down. The third confession. When my daughter would drive up from the city, I would get out of bed at 4 in the morning and make something I had never made in my life. A big spread. Fried potatoes, the good pan out, biscuits from scratch that I had not attempted since my wife was living. And by the time that girl sat down across from me, there was nothing left in me but tiredness. She had driven all that way for me. She got a cook, and a worn-out one at that. Once she said, "Sit down with me," and I said I would in a minute. And I never did sit down that entire visit. My grandfather used to say that a man who cooks to be admired feeds himself first, no matter who is at the table. Now when she comes, she gets the same bowl I have, and she gets me across from her, rested, with the whole morning still in my hands. She likes it better. She has told me so twice. The fourth confession is that I let a piece of paper from a doctor's office turn every morning into a test I failed before 8 o'clock. Sodium here, sugar there, so many grams of this. I am not against any of it. The man was doing his level best to keep me above ground. But I turned his kindness into arithmetic, and I would stand there doing sums on an empty stomach, and then eat the wrong thing anyway and carry that little failure around like a stone in my shoe until noon. Some days I skipped the good part of the meal to make the numbers come out even, which helped nobody. My grandmother used to say you cannot weigh yourself into health. What finally worked was not a better list. It was one decision, made once, on an ordinary Tuesday, that fit inside the doctor's lines, and then never made again. The paper went in the drawer. The bowl stayed on the counter. The fifth confession is a small and foolish one, and I suspect a few of you have a freezer that would testify against you the way mine testified against me. I bought food because it was cheap, not because I would eat it. 3 bags of something on sale, a case of soup with a coupon, and all of it sat in there growing frost while I ate toast standing up. My grandmother had a line for exactly that. A bargain you do not eat is just a thing you have to move. Every one of those bags was a decision I had postponed. I had paid money to put a choice in the freezer and make it wait for me, and then walk past it every day. When I cleaned that freezer out at 81, I carried 2 boxes to the curb and I felt lighter, and I have not missed one item since. The sixth confession is harder to say. There were mornings when the deciding was more than I had in me, and so I ate nothing at all. And then I lied about it. My son would call at 10 and ask if I had eaten, and I would say, "Oh, hours ago." By 11 I would be shaking a little and short with him, and I would blame my hip or the weather, or him, mostly him. My grandfather used to say an empty man will pick a fight with a door frame. After 80, the body does not carry a skipped morning the way it carried one at 50. It sends you a bill, and it does not send that bill to you. It sends it to whoever is closest, whoever loves you enough to still be calling at 10 in the morning. That is the part of this I am not proud of. Who has been paying for your empty mornings? Are you certain it has been you? The seventh confession. After my wife passed, I rearranged that whole kitchen. I told myself it was practical, that I was making it easier on my knees. The truth is I could not stand for it to look like her kitchen and have her not in it. So the flour went where the cups had been, and the strainer went nowhere at all, and for 6 years I hunted through my own cupboards every morning like a stranger in somebody else's house. My grandmother used to say a thing without a home will cost you twice, once when you lose it, and once when you find it. Grief moves the furniture, and then we stand there blaming our memory for the mess. So I gave things a home again. Not all of it. I am not that tidy a man. But the bowl, the spoon, the coffee, and the pan have one place now, and my hands know the way there in the dark. The 8th confession is about that blue bowl. It belonged to my wife's mother, and for 40 years it lived on the high shelf, waiting for a day important enough to deserve it. Christmas, maybe, somebody's engagement. It came down 9 times in 40 years, and I know the number because my wife counted. I ate out of chipped things and saved the good one for a day that kept not arriving. My grandmother used to say the good day is the one you are standing in. That bowl is on my counter right this minute, upside down on a towel, and it has a hairline crack running through the glaze from where I set it down too hard in March, and I would not trade it for a whole cupboard of perfect ones. What are you saving, and who exactly are you saving it for? The 9th and 10th confessions belong together, because they were the same sickness in 2 different coats. The 9th is that I ate standing up. 84 years old, retired for 20 of them. Not one appointment on the calendar all week, and I would eat over the sink like a man about to miss a train. My grandfather used to say a man who eats standing is telling his own body it is not worth sitting down for. And the 10th is that I let the television choose my mood before I had chosen anything for myself. The set went on before the kettle did. Somebody in a good suit told me what to be afraid of, and I carried that fear into every conversation that day, and would have sworn it rose up out of my own heart. My grandmother used to say whatever you let in first will do the talking all day long. Now the kettle goes on first. The chair gets sat in. The news can wait until I have eaten, and in 7 years it has never once had a thing in it that could not wait. And now the 11th confession, the one I am least proud of, and the most important of all of them. For 2 solid years I was ashamed of the sameness. I hid it. When my son asked what I had eaten, I would invent something for him. Because in my head, a man who eats the same bowl every morning was a man who had narrowed, who had given up, who was quietly running out the clock in a quiet house. I thought a routine was the shape surrender takes. My grandfather used to say the trail you walk every day is not a rut. It is the path you keep clear. And here is what I could not see while I was so busy being ashamed of a bowl of oats. That one settled decision did not shrink my life by 1 inch. It handed the rest of the day back to me. When the first hour is not spent choosing, you are not smaller. You have got an hour and a temper you can live behind, and enough of yourself left over to answer the telephone kindly. I wrote 4 letters last winter that I had owed people for years. I did not have it in me before, not because I was too old for it, because I had already spent it all standing at a cupboard. Now I want to say something careful because I have watched people take a list like this one and turn it into a stick to beat themselves with. Naming these 11 things was not the same as hating myself for them. Not once. A man standing too long at an open cupboard is not a man who is losing his mind, and he is not a weak man, and he is not a foolish one. He is a man doing a thing at a particular time in his life, for reasons that made good sense to him at the time. That is all a habit ever is. It is something you can stand back and watch, the way you watch weather come across a field. It is not the field itself. There is a difference between saying, I spent 11 minutes at a cupboard this morning, and saying, I am the kind of man who cannot decide anything anymore. The first one is a report you can do something with. You can move the bowl, you can pick the oats. The second one is a sentence handed down, and the strange thing about a sentence you hand down to yourself is that you will serve every day of it, and nobody will ever come to let you out. When I wrote those 11 confessions on that seed envelope, I was not putting myself on trial. I was taking inventory, the way you take inventory of a pantry before winter comes on. You do not stand in the pantry hating yourself over what is missing from the shelf. You write it down, you shut the door, and then you go and get what you need. Could you look at your own mornings that way, just once, without any verdict in your hand? So let me gather this up for you now. The way my grandmother gathered the ends of her shawl. 11 minutes at a cupboard, and the fear underneath them. Variety mistaken for proof of life. Cooking to be admired instead of sitting down with my own daughter. A doctor's paper turned into arithmetic I could never win. A freezer full of postponed decisions I had paid good money to store. Skipped mornings, and the small lie that covered them, and the people who got billed for it. A kitchen where nothing had a home. A good bowl saved 40 years for a day that never once arrived. Eating standing up in an empty house with nowhere on earth to be. Letting a stranger on the television set my mood before I had set it myself. And being ashamed of the very sameness that finally handed my day back to me. 11 of them, and not one of them truly about food, when I finally looked square at the list. Now turn each one around and hold it up against your own morning, the one you will have tomorrow. How long do you stand at your own cupboard? Who cooks in your house to be admired? What are you keeping on a high shelf, and for what day? What goes on first in your kitchen, the kettle or the noise? And which of your mornings have you already lied about to somebody who only called because they love you? I know what some of you are asking right now, because I asked it myself, sitting in this chair with a pencil in my hand. Is it too late for me? I will not stand here and promise you what comes next, because I do not know, and any man who tells you he knows is selling something. Here is what I do know at 87. Age has taken plenty from me. My knees, most of the hearing on my left side, nearly everyone I started out with. It has not taken my ability to notice one habit, and it has not taken my ability to make one ordinary choice about it this morning, in whatever kitchen you happen to be standing in. I would like to hear from you now. Of those 11, tell me which number landed closest to home, and tell me down in the comments what your own morning has been costing you, because I read every single one of them, every night, in this chair. And then come back tomorrow and sit with me again. There will be a chair, and there will be coffee, and it will be the same coffee it was yesterday, and I have come to think that is the kindest thing an old man can hand anybody. Rest easy tonight.